You might remember the Opel Mokka as a somewhat forgettable small crossover, but now there's an all new model and it looks really good. I mean, it looks really good. It couldn't be more different from its predecessor, but it's also different in that it now comes in a fully electric version, which is this we're looking at here. This is the Opel Mokka-e, as it's called, and it's also dropped the X from the name. That means that it's still, well, it is a road car, but it doesn't have all-wheel drive. This is still a front-wheel drive version, and it's built on the Stellantis Group CMP platform. So what that means is it's a front-wheel drive, electric motor, 136 horsepower. It has a 50 kilowatt hour battery that is capable of a single charge range of up to 324 kilometers in the WLTP cycle. We think estimating realistically around about 280 is quite reasonable. Even in this really cold weather, it's actually doing pretty good. And it's also capable of charging at a peak 100 kilowatts as well. So if you do find a rapid charger on your motorway journey, you can fill up the battery in around about half an hour to roughly 80%, depending on how empty it is to start with. Now, this highest spec car also comes pretty well equipped. As you can see, it has gloss black mirrors, a gloss black roof, and even the bonnet as well. That's a bit of a nod to Opel's rally past with the Manta. This metallic look running around the roofline and into the rear of the car is something we've seen on a number of Opels. It started with the Adam. We've also seen it on the Crossland, which is also another car that Opel has in this B SUV segment. But perhaps the most distinctive feature is the front. It's this visor panel that Opel is now putting onto its car. This is the first car that we've seen with it, and it really does look sharp. It basically integrates the headlights and the grille all into one consistent panel, and it's got a very upright look to it. It really makes the car stand out. It's really distinctive, bearing in mind obviously that there are several cars in this segment from the Stellantis group. You have the Peugeot E2008, you will have the Citroën EC4 coming as well, and all of those cars do use the same platform and the same architecture, but this really stands out. It is a little bit shorter than the E2008, but it's not overly compromised on the inside as well. So let's take a look inside and see what it's like. With regard to the interior, well, I'm a big fan of what Opel has done here. It's very nicely laid out. It's a really nice mix of function and form. You have this, what Opel calls a pure panel in front of you. So there's a 12-inch digital instrument display, and that's joined by, as standard, an 8-inch unit, depending on where you are, and this 10-inch display. But it's quite neatly integrated into a single panel. So it does give the effect with this high gloss bezel around the whole thing that it's almost one whole panel, a one whole screen. It's really nicely done, but also there is still a nice degree of physical functionality. So you have down here very easy to reach physical controls for putting on your heated seats, putting on adjusting the climate control and your front and rear window demisters. So that's very nice to use. Below that, there's also a 12-volt power socket and a USB port, and this car is also equipped with a very easy and nice, easy to reach wireless charging pad too. So quite like that, all your connectivity issues are going to be solved, as well as your charging issues. And being an automatic, you don't have a traditional gear selector. You have this machined looking rocker switch, which will go between your reverse and drive, and you also have a small park button. Beside that are the drive mode features. There are 3 different drive modes here. It is the same unit as what features in the Citroën EC4. It's very nice, very easy to use. I like the way it's recessed, so you get pretty much a flat panel on the top here. You've got 2 cup holders a little bit further back as well. There's no cover actually that comes across. They're just always open. The handbrake is electric handbrake, and again, that all designed to sit flush. I do like this panel. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that it does have this gloss black, a piano black finish to it, and even already it's starting to show little scratches and marks. It's something that probably after a year or two of ownership, it's probably going to look a little bit tired. That's the only thing I don't really like about the interior, is that aspect of it. The seats, well, they're very nice, they're very supportive, very comfortable. That's something that it's become a bit of a constant from Opel. They've really put a lot of effort into ensuring that their seats are supportive. And then the rest of it, well, you do have a relatively okay sized glove box. It kind of opens up, and it's fine for putting smaller items in. Everything is a little bit more focused towards the driver in here, though. If you're sitting in the passenger seat, for example, this touchscreen display, it is angled towards the driver. The steering wheel itself, in this car, is a heated steering wheel. It's very familiar. It's pretty much the same steering wheel as we see in all Opels, but all the controls are quite easy to use. The volume control, for example, has a nice kind of rubberized feel to the buttons, and then you have your window selectors or window operations here on the door. Now, as I mentioned, this is the kind of the ultimate spec of what you can get with the Mokka-e, but the materials that are used throughout are really nice. You have this carbon fiber like effect here. You have this contrasting grey, which again gives you like a surround around the actual Pure panel. You've got this gloss black, but also the door, there's like an Alcantara inserts, and you have this kind of leather like feature continues through the seats as well. They're also heated seats, so that's another feature, although this is a manually operated seat, so you do have to do that yourself. The steering wheel has a fair bit of adjustment to it as well, up and down and in and out. There's quite a good amount of reach there, and that 12-inch display is also offers quite a bit of configurability as well, so you can have a number of different displays shown depending on what you want. So you can have this traditional very simple minimalist look with the dials. You can then scroll through and have, for example, a trip computer come up that will show your average speed, your energy consumption. You can also have a display that just shows you how the energy is being used, so it's like an animated graphic that will go through exactly how much charge is in the battery and how the power is being used. There's a minimum function. This basically just simplifies everything and just gives you your speed right in the center. That's actually a really nice thing to have, particularly at night, because it just reduces the amount of glare. And obviously you can have a personal screen as well, so you can have that depending on what you want to have, and that will show things like your trip computer, and if you're driving on a motorway, your lane keep. All those kind of features are there as well. You can have the maps display straight up on the screen as well, and it's kind of nice how it kind of fades in around the screen. And then you're back to your sort of traditional sort of driving mode, and that will again show you your progress on the road. And pretty much all the time it will show you your energy consumption or how much range you have left. In the bottom right corner, it also shows you your speed, always very prominent and center. And in a lot of functions, it will show you how much power you're using, and then also the amount of energy being recharged or recuperated as you drive. As for sitting in the back, well, there's actually a reasonably good amount of space back here. I have just enough amount of legroom. This driver's seat is set up for my driving position, and I am 5'9", so I have pretty much enough knee room. It is a little bit tricky to get my feet in under the seat. There's not a lot of space there, so stretching out won't be the easiest over a very long journey. That said, I do have an okay amount of headroom here. I've got a couple of inches there, so that's not too bad. There isn't much of a transmission tunnel or a hump in the center of the floor, although it is there. And if I sit into the middle, I do have reasonably okay, again, good headroom. It's not too bad. I am a little bit tighter here against the seats, and it's a bit tricky because of the seat rails themselves and that tunnel and that hump. So I do have to keep my feet a little bit further apart, and that may encroach down on whoever's sitting in the outer seats. Both the outer seats can take child seats as well, There isn't any kind of armrest that folds down here though, so anyone who's sitting in the back is going to have to hold on to their cup holder or hold on to their cups. There is 2 USB-A ports in the back. That's a positive, at least you can charge things up, and there is a small pouch in the back of the seats. But if I'm honest, it's not the most spacious thing here in the back, especially because of how this window line comes down. As you can see, I'm sitting upright and it's right up against my head here. So, you know, I do have okay visibility, but it's not great. And it is helped to a certain extent by having this light colored roof lining. That definitely helps. I think if that was black, it would probably feel a little bit darker back here. Now, because of the battery in the back of the Mokka-e, the boot space is slightly less than what you're going to find in the petrol versions, but still you do get 310 litres, and that can also be increased to 1060 litres when you drop the 60/40 split folding rear seats. There's 2 height levels as well for the boot floor, so you can lift up this panel, drop it down and have a little bit more space, or you can use this as a divider for having your charging cables underneath if you wish. Now, the Opel Mokka-e may only come with one powertrain option, but it's a very good one at that. You see, it covers off a lot of bases. The 50 kilowatt hour battery is more than enough for what most people are ever going to want from such a small compact SUV such as this. And the 136 horsepower electric motor is more than enough performance as well for everyday use. Indeed, it gets up to speed very, very quickly if you're joining a motorway, and it has enough zip to get away from a traffic light in a hurry if you need to. But for the most part, it operates very, very smoothly, and importantly, very quietly. Quietness is a big thing with this car, and it's one of the things that, after driving it only for a short amount of time, very, very obvious this is a very refined car. Opel really has done a very good job in making this smooth, comfortable and quiet. There's next to no electric whir coming from the motor, and even road noise is incredibly well suppressed. Also worth mentioning that this car is driving on winter tires, as you can probably see from our weather conditions, and they typically generate a little bit more road noise than what you'd normally have with a typical all year round or a summer tire. So in that respect, actually performing above what we would have expected. Now, the ride quality I talked about, it is very, very nice in terms of what I think. It's nicely damped. It absorbs the bumps very, very well without shocking them through the cabin. So even, you know, harsher speed humps, for example, it does a very good job of coping with those and rounding them off and making them a little bit better. It's definitely a nicer ride and a more stolid feel compared to the Peugeot E2008 that it shares a lot of its mechanical underpinnings with. So that's a good point. Is it quite as comfortable as the progressive hydraulic cushions that are available in the Citroën EC4? I don't think so, but that Citroën doesn't have quite the same dynamic sharpness to this car. You really can throw this car into a corner and it performs very, very well. The steering is very nicely weighted. It's well set up. Yes, you do have 3 drive modes that you can go through, and obviously selecting the sport mode does the predictable thing of adding a little bit more weight to the steering, requiring a bit more of a torque input there. I don't really like that. I think actually the normal mode is really in the sweet spot. And obviously then you have an eco mode, which will help you eke a little bit more battery range out of the car. But really leaving it in the normal mode is more than enough. It has good amounts of energy recovery. It is not a one pedal driving experience like you will have with some other cars, but it's a nice balance, and that's the one thing, is balance and refinement that this car offers really sets it apart from a lot of other cars. It feels remarkably solid on the move, very, very quiet. Even on a motorway, it's actually very, very quiet, and it's not exactly rinsing the battery out either. It does perform quite well in our experience so far on the motorway runs. Very, very comfortable and quiet at up to 120 kilometers an hour. So that's been our first drive review of the new Opel Mokka-e. It is certainly a very refined electric SUV. The styling is absolutely on point. It looks spectacular, really stands out in the segment. Granted, yes, part of that's down to this incredible green paint with the black roof, but I think considering that there's several models using the same core architecture as this car, this really does stand out. It rides really, really well. It's very refined, very quiet, especially on the move. And I think for a lot of people, that range of, in and around 300 kilometers up to 324 kilometers is more than enough for what you're going to need. It's capable of doing longer journeys quite easily thanks to that ability to charge it up to 100 kilowatts as well. And overall, it's not badly priced. The interior is spectacular too. You're getting quite a lot for your bang for your buck with this car. But anyway, that's what we think about it. What do you think about it? We'd love to know what you think, so tell us in the comments below. Get involved in the conversation. We always really enjoy getting your feedback. If you've watched the video this far and you've enjoyed it, please do hit the like button below. And if you don't already, please do consider subscribing to the Complete Car YouTube channel. And also, if you hit the notification bell, next time we upload a video, you'll be alerted to that too. If you already subscribe, thank you for being a subscriber. We hope you continue to enjoy our videos. In the meantime, if you want to know more about the Opel Mokka-e, head over to our website, which is CompleteCar.ie. We have full detailed reviews of that and also of the combustion engine model, not to mention all of their rivals as well. So head over to CompleteCar.ie and you'll find even more information there. Thanks for watching.